Scots Nation, welcome back to another episode of Tartan Talk. This week's episode is Missy Barker Johnson. Missy was a 4-year member of the Maryville softball team from 1986 to 1990. During her junior and senior years, she led the Scots to back-to-back 20-win seasons. She was named Team Defensive Player of the Year as a junior before earning Team MVP honors as a senior. Please help me in welcoming Maryville College Wall of Fame Class of 2024 inductee, Missy Barker Johnson. We're here today with our guest, Missy Barker Johnson. She was on the softball team back in the 80s and 90s. Missy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am obviously an MC grad, graduated here in 90. I have 2 children. My son is a freshman in college, or a sophomore actually. He just started his sophomore year. And he plays football at Cumberland University. And then my daughter is a senior at Maryville High School.
As we prepare for the induction ceremony into the Wall of Fame later this week, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm very excited, to be honest. It's a huge honor in the Maryville College community, and I feel like just in the sports community in general, you generally know if someone's being inducted into a sports hall of fame at their school that they excelled in their craft. So that makes me proud.
Kind of going off of that, during your time here, you were part of a pair of 20-win teams on the softball team. What went into that success? And
actually, I went back and looked. I've just done a lot of going back and looking at old photos and scrapbooks and that kind of thing this week. And actually, we had 4 straight winning seasons of 20-plus wins, which was, back in that day, we probably did not play near as many games as they play today. So that was a really big deal to have 20-plus wins in a season. I really attribute that to just the talent we had. For the late 80s, fast pitch was just coming to this area. And so it was not like larger cities like Atlanta, Houston, some of those places where they'd been playing fast pitch for a long time. So here we got a lot of girls from out of state, obviously, and then those of us in state had played at very, very high levels in the summer on traveling teams, which also was not a thing back then. So we had just a really diverse pool of talent, but very strong pool of talent.
The legend has it that during your time here, you pitched 5 straight games in a single day and beat Georgia Tech twice?
We did, and it's not a legend, it's a reality. So yes, that was the first time I had ever pitched 5 games in one day. Softball's different from baseball in that sense because of the underhand motion. It's just more natural, so it doesn't put near the stress on your muscles and joints the way an overhand throw does. So it's normal for pitchers to throw 2 to 3 games a day, and I'd thrown 4 games in a day several times, but I'd never done 5. So that was my first time. That was a really big tournament for us because it was mostly D1 teams in that tournament and some D2. We were the only D3 in that tournament. So for us to excel and make it to the finals on Sunday, we got put out by Mercer. But it was a great weekend for us.
What do you remember most about that weekend?
Man, I'll tell you, that's probably the most exhausted I've ever been during a day of softball. And, it was a really long day. The games are not consecutive, so you may have a 2-game wait before you play again. So it was a really long day, but that last Georgia Tech game that evening, it was about the 4th or 5th inning, and I went to Coach Moore and I said, I think I'm done. I don't think I can go anymore. And he literally, he was a great motivational guy. He hugged me and then he just grabbed me by the shoulders and said, "Missy, this is what you live for." All the blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, practices in the winter when you're by yourself, like all of that is accumulating in this moment. This is what we came here for. You've got to dig down deep, biggest gut check you've ever had. So he really, really sort of just re-energized me in that moment so we could finish the end of that game. And when I went out, I did feel, sometimes there's that thing deep inside you that kind of rises up when you don't think you have anymore. And that's what I remember most about that day. It was really pretty phenomenal.
Speaking of Coach Wes Moore, he's went on to have Division I success. When you played for him, did you know he was going to get there one day?
I loved him. He was a great basketball coach. And really how he came to be the softball coach, I always admired and respected him for it, but my first 2 years here, we had 2 different coaches. My freshman year was Sharon Arrington, and she was gone after that season. And then Paul Mills and Shannon O'Brien, who Shannon also coached football, but just had a deep love of baseball. So they took us that second year when they were kind of in between coaches, and then they just didn't really have anybody to step up. And as I said, fast pitch softball in this area was not where it was in other parts of the country. So your resource pool for coaches was small to none. So really they just looked on campus and said, is there anybody that wants to take the softball team? And he stepped up for us, and so I was always very grateful to him for that. He had a love of baseball too, so he had a general knowledge of the game, and a lot of times he depended on us because we, so many of us had played at a really, really high level, especially situational stuff. He would say, what do you guys think? What, do we bunt here? Are we going to try to sacrifice this run? So he definitely engaged us on the intellectual side of the game, where he may have not been quite as strong, but he was a great motivational guy. He could rally people, get people on the same page. He always had a smile on his face. So just really grateful to him. And no, it doesn't surprise me in basketball that he has made it as far. And I love getting to see him on TV when NC State's playing. And so I just look for what God has next for him, because I think there's, even better things out there coming for him.
Kind of going off of that, you have a organization, Kingdom Design Ministries. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Kingdom Design Ministries is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we create room makeovers and home renovations for kids who have experienced some sort of devastation in their life. And so for kids, that trauma and devastation comes in lots of different forms. And so it may be a disability or a disease. It may be a death of a sibling or a parent. And so whatever that looks like, wherever God leads us there, we will go in and we always redo the child's bedroom. And then more and more, the types of requests we get are for children who are in wheelchairs, but they live in a home that's not handicap accessible. So we've had children literally who have not had a proper bath or a shower in 7 years because they physically can't get through the door in their bathroom. And so we will go in and completely gut the bedroom and bathroom and rebuild the whole thing so it's handicap accessible. So their caregivers can, they can get in the shower very easy. We do a lot of ceiling track lift systems so it can help lift the child out of the bed. So it is life-changing for the family, and it's all at no charge to the family. So we just do that really as a way to live out our faith and just share love unconditionally with that child and their family.
You won the MC Alumni Citation Award for your work with Kingdom Design. How did it feel when you received the news about that, being that that is one of the highest honors that can be bestowed upon an alum, and obviously the Wall of Fame is another one, and you're about to go in.
Man, I'll tell you, it was special. Because that work, I mean, I received the award, but that organization is all about God. And it was a win for us in that sense, that we just got to spread the word about the organization, for one thing, and just the work that we do. And it's all local, like Blount County and just close surrounding areas. And so just the people who have won that award in the past are very, very influential, very overachievers. And so for me to be invited into that company was very humbling.
Let's rewind a little bit and talk about your time at Maryville College away from the field. What was that like?
Oh man, it was great. I really wanted to go to a small school. I grew up in Maryville, in Blount County. So I remember, during that time, my senior year in high school, when I was starting to get letters and that kind of thing from colleges, I got a full ride offer to a school in Oklahoma, and I just, I'd never been away from home a whole lot. My family was real close, and the thought of that absolutely terrified me. And, from the time I was young, my dad had brought us up to Maryville College. Sometimes we would just walk through Sutton Science Center, and they used to have lots of displays in there with like animals and all kinds of things. So we'd look at that, and he would bring us up to hit golf balls on the front lawn. They used to have a putting green up beside Dorm 1. I'm not sure what it's called now. We called it Dorm 1.
It's over there, I believe, in front of Gamble, and the plan there is they're going to build a state-of-the-art science center. When you were putting golf balls, you probably never imagined that would go there.
Yeah, no. So, and honestly, there weren't that many schools, again, in this area who had fast-pitch softball. So if I wanted to stay closer to home, my choices were very limited. But I did. I really, my mom and dad were huge encouragers and supporters. My dad was a very, very significant part of my athletic journey. And so I couldn't imagine playing and them not being there. So that was probably the first reason I came to Maryville. It was close, and for the softball, so my family could come. My brother actually came here and played baseball. And so, but the friendships I made are still some of my very best friends today. I didn't live on campus, so that was a little bit different, being a commuter in a sport. There weren't very many of those. So, but I did stay on campus a lot with friends, especially during softball season. And but yeah, still, homecoming coming up this weekend. I'll get to see a lot of those people, and it's just so much fun.
Kind of, you touched on it just there a little bit, but have you stayed close to any of your teammates?
Yes, several. Nancy Kell was our shortstop, and she taught at my children's school. Actually, she was their art teacher, and we've golfed a few times over the years. Andrea Dye, carpenter, also played shortstop some for us and pitched some. And we actually kind of grew up together, went to high school together. We came to Maryville College together, and have just kind of lived life side by side for many, many years. And then Angie Norris Lawler was her maiden name. She was our center fielder, and she was actually the guidance counselor at my kids' school. So that was really cool. We walked in the first day of school, and I saw her, and they're like, "How do you know Miss Norris?" And I said, "Well, I played softball with Miss Norris." So that was fun. And then Donna Clancy Trainer will be actually introducing me on Thursday night at the banquet, and one of my dearest friends to this day. Donna Clancy trainer is still one of my very dearest friends today. A few months ago, she was cleaning some things out of her parents' house, and she found the old stack of old scorebooks that her dad used to keep. When he came to softball games, he always kept a scorebook. And so she found one, and it was from a softball game in the summer before my freshman year here. So she was already here. We played against each other that summer and didn't even know it, did not know who each other was. So she went back and found that in a scorebook. And it's just so cool to see that we played on the same field and did not know who each other were. And then out of that came a lifelong friendship.
So with homecoming coming up this weekend, what are you most looking forward to?
Oh, that's a tough one. Friends, obviously. I am excited about the ceremony at halftime for my dad. My mom passed away a little over a year ago, so she would have loved that day. Unfortunately, she will not be able to be here with us, but my dad, it'll be special for him. So I'm excited about that. And just to see friends, it's always so much fun on the years I get to come to homecoming. Just those relationships, it just kind of feels like doesn't matter how long it's been since you've seen each other, it's just that close Maryville College family that still feels like family. And it doesn't matter how long you've been apart, you just sort of pick up where you left off. And that's always a super special part. And I'm looking forward to, on Friday, going to the alumni softball game and the baseball game. I'm going to go by both of those. And so just really looking forward to it.
Kind of circle back just a minute here, back to the Wall of Fame. Is there anybody in that class that you're familiar with or know?
That's on the Wall of Fame already?
That's coming into the current class.
Oh, yes. Beverly Stepp is a soccer player, and we knew each other at Maryville College, and we're friends. Coach Iruli, I know him. Jay Malone, we graduated from here together, so we've been friends for a really long time, and he was my son's junior high football coach, so I still get to see him. You know, not as much anymore, but there for a couple of years I saw him a lot. And great guy, so I'm happy for him. So yeah, I know a few people.
To wrap up our time here, let's talk a little bit about the current state of the team. Have you kept up with the softball team in recent years?
Not as much as I'd like to, but this year, what a great year for Scots softball. I remember when I first started, my first 2 years, I guess, we didn't even have a field on campus. So we still played over at Sandy Springs at the park, and that was our softball field. So then I think my junior year, we did get a field down here, very rough sort of conditions, but I feel like that was sort of the birth of the evolution of the softball team that they have now. And I'm really thankful for Coach Moore and just the dedication she has. Just you can see it as you follow her, and the love for the game itself. I'm just so happy that they have evolved to a place where they do have very dedicated softball coach. And not that some of the others weren't dedicated, but that is her specialty. That's her craft. And so I'm super happy for the young ladies on that team right now that they're getting the benefit of that.
Do you have any advice that you would want to give current players on Maryville College teams or people just in general that are looking to come to Maryville College?
I would say people who are looking to come to Maryville College, it's relationships that will last you the rest of your life, and friendships that transcend time. That will probably be my biggest takeaway. The sports aspect, of course, is great, but that sort of brings me to my next point, which is, I guess if I had anything to say to the young players now, was, I'm just so happy that they have evolved to a place where they do have very dedicated softball coach. And so I'm super happy for the young ladies on that team right now that they're getting the benefit of that. Do you have any advice that you would want to give current players on Maryville College teams or people just in general that are looking to come to Maryville College?
I would say people who are looking to come to Maryville College
be thinking about what you want to do with the rest of your life, because I'm just being very transparent. I did not do that. I mean, softball was my life. It was my whole identity. And when I played that last game, we played Tennessee Tech, I'll never forget it. I was lost and had no direction. I did not know what I wanted to do. I majored in business, but I didn't really know what that looked like. So I feel like I spent several years just sort of fumbling in the dark, because I had not focused on my career after college. I literally was so focused on softball, and that had been such a constant part of my life for my whole life, that I didn't really have a plan past that, and it did not serve me well. So that would be my piece of advice, I think, for young ladies playing today.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Missy. Hope to see you again this weekend at homecoming, and go Scots.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel very honored. So good to meet you, and yes, go Scots.
Scots Nation, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Tartan Talk. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe on YouTube and click the notification bell. This weekend, it's homecoming week. Make sure to check our social medias to find up-to-date information regarding that. Thank you, and go Scots.